he's moving too, and Alidar comes like a shot into third.
Fusaichi Pegasus will roll into Kentucky as the favorite in the Derby.
And here it is. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharoah is finally the one.
So for almost 20 years, Richie, we've been hearing this is the one. This is the horse that's going to win the Triple Crown. And you get to a point, and I'm a pretty jaded guy in some ways as well. I'm pretty cynical, where it's like, yeah, he'll be the one. He'll find a way to lose too. Not the case in 2015.
No, American Pharoah was the real deal. And his efficiency of stride is what made him stand out. He just never looked like he was working overtime. He was just kind of relentless in his stride never deteriorated. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
He had dangerous speed, and horses were afraid to run with him. It's amazing. The fourth try to win a Triple Crown by Bob Baffert. Absolutely incredible. Obviously, he was retired after the win of the Breeders' Cup Classic. Frosted, who won the Wood and ran okay to be fourth in the Derby, kind of was American Pharoah's undoing in the Travers, but he showed as a 4-year-old what kind of racehorse he was, especially in the Met Mile. And I think it showed that a lot of these distances were actually beyond his best.
Yeah, I agree, because it looked like at one point he was going to be the danger in this Belmont, and then he just couldn't keep up with American Pharoah, who, you know, frankly got everything his own way, but he was the kind of horse that kind of set up his own trip, didn't he?
No, he did, but he was intimidating. Horses were afraid to run with him, and that was part of the problem. And when Frosted finally went to him in the Travers, a lot of people criticized Jose Lezcano. I completely disagree with that. You're in races to win them, and that's the closest Frosted ever got to beating American Pharoah.
Yeah, and you know, once he got away clean here and kind of set up the trip he had, and he got so comfortable. And American Pharoah was not only talented, he had a great mind, and that's the thing that people forget. You can have the ability to do something, but if you don't do it properly, or you get rank and you don't wait on your rider's cues, he made it so easy for Victor Espinoza, basically like riding a horse in Central Park here. Look at his ears, he's relaxed, he's not pulling, and he would have done anything Victor asked him to do.
Well, his demeanor he was famous for his demeanor, because you talked about him. A friend of mine once said they could blow up a grenade next to him in the paddock, and I don't think that he'd like flip a hair. It is interesting, though, to compare this to the Smarty Jones Belmont. This race, he got to go 24, 48-4, 113-2. He was allowed to do what Smarty Jones wasn't allowed to do. He was able to set his own pace and set it very moderately. He galloped him to death.
Well, and that's what he's doing here. He's very collected. He's in a gallop. He is just out for a nice little breeze here, no pressure at all. And again, his tractability, watching his demeanor. He doesn't get keen when materiality, you know, kind of eased up to him. He could have jumped in the bit and maybe got rank. He just was as cool a customer as it could be. Must have been a lot of fun to ride him.
Oh, I'm sure it was, especially winning a race like this. One of the most important things for him was also that materiality, who might have been his biggest threat in a lot of ways here, would run very well in the Derby and come into big races. He disintegrates. If materiality, and I'm not saying he's going to beat him, but I'm saying if materiality had more horse, and maybe he forces him a little bit here and he sticks around a little longer, maybe it's a different race, but he won so easily, who was going to catch him from behind?
Nobody. And the fact of the matter is he came home his last quarter in 24-1 or 2. I mean, you know, that's running going a mile and a half. And you know, here, I mean, when he's still traveling in the bridle like this, and he's already run a mile and a quarter or mile and an eighth at this point, but it was amazing that he could stay in the bit this long, and you basically knew right here we were going to get to finally see that Triple Crown winner.
I agree. Keen Ice in the midst of getting a ridiculous ride. It's amazing that he finished third in this race. There was a brief moment here, though, when Frosted looked like he might be locked and loaded coming outside of him, but Victor and American Pharoah dispose of him as we go down to Larry Colmus for the call of the wire.
To go. American Pharoah's got a 2-length lead. Frosted is all out at the 16th pole. And here it is. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharoah is finally the one. American Pharoah has won the Triple Crown.
It's funny, there was so much euphoria going around. In a lot of ways, Richie, I just sort of felt a sense of relief that somebody actually finally did it.
Well, it put to rest. Everybody was saying that it couldn't be done ever again. It was never going to be done again. It's hard, but it's supposed to be hard. It's the hard that makes it great.
I agree. All this talk at different times of changing the Triple Crown really annoys me. The Triple Crown is difficult. It's supposed to be difficult, and it's a true test of champions. And while, I'm difficult, and I'm going to say I can point a lot of horses I think might have been more talented than American Pharoah, though I'm very sorry we never got to see what he could have done as a 4-year-old last year. But the reality is he accomplished something utterly amazing.
Absolutely. And again, I go back to, horses win by big margins sometimes and their strides deteriorate. His stride was very strong through the wire. And, we were talking about his demeanor. 99% of good horses have a mean streak in them. It's just something about being that athlete. And this horse wasn't. He would hang around, take pictures, and just act like a backyard pony.
He was the perfect horse to become the horse to win the Triple Crown because he was so accommodating and people got a chance to get near him. And this was a thrilling moment. And Belmont Park was electric like you've never seen it before.
It was so much fun to be here that day covering it. And I was down by the winner's circle, and I finally got to see a Triple Crown winner with my son, who at that point was like 23 years old. And I thought, when he was 10, we were going to see it, but it was well worth the wait, and I actually got a bit emotional.
I felt like, Richie, it's weird because, you and I were there. I was there for Seattle Slew. We were there for Affirmed Alydar. So, all this thing, I felt like I saw him, and I don't feel like it was 37 years ago. I still feel as young as I was then. But this was an amazing moment of euphoria as American Pharoah etched his name in history alongside some pretty good horses, Richie.
Yeah, some pretty good names on there. And one thing that always gets overlooked, we're looking at those names. Gallant Fox, the only Triple Crown winner to sire a Triple Crown winner in Omaha. I mean, think about that. Pretty good stuff. Secretariat probably could have done it if Risen Star had pulled off the Belmont, but that's greatness right there.
No, that was really a great moment and a memorable moment, and we see a lot of memorable moments in horse racing.